Well, it's been almost exactly 2 years, and finally, the pandemic is dissipating. We made our choices, we learned our lessons, and it's a new dawn. And it's a new season for the year 2022, and a new time for all of us to embrace new life, new opportunities, new abundance. And while we balance our care and genuine prayer for peace and the awareness of a world that still includes unthinkable tragedy and sorrow and even war, we also are grateful for how blessed we are. And so let us use this spring of 2022 to take everything that we've learned, clear the past, and move forward in gratitude for the freedom that we have, for the blessings of our lives, for the opportunity to come together again in community, online, and yes, in person. We are all part of the awakening world, and we all have the roles that we're playing as individuals and collectively. We are the imaginal cells finding each other to create a beautiful, incredible butterfly out of the old paradigm. So welcome to spring of 2022. Welcome to the awakening world.
We come from the same source, a powerful love force. We're coming together, stronger than ever, not divided. We come from the same source, a powerful love force. We're coming together, hear the call, you are invited. We come from the same source, a powerful love force.
Welcome, everybody, to the Awakening World and to our Earth Day weekend. This is the third year now that I've been honored to be able to doing shows honoring Earth Day for the Global Peace Tribe. And I want to welcome everybody. I want to welcome all of our friends in the Zoom room. I see a lot of our regulars. And please, everybody, let us know where you're from geographically. Also want to welcome everybody watching on YouTube and Facebook. And a big hello to our friends watching on Unify. And of course, also want to thank John and Summer Raymer and the Sign Network for getting us out, sometimes as many as 100 groups and pages. I also want to acknowledge any of you that are watching the replay. Our statistics show that about 40% of the people who end up watching this show watch the recording, watch the replays. So whether you're with us live in the Zoom room or on Unify, Facebook, YouTube, or watching a recording, welcome. And let's all really take time with tonight's show and throughout this weekend to remember our own unique relationship to our true mother, our beloved Mother Earth, Gaia. And I'm really grateful for Robin Streichler. I'm going to introduce her first because Robin has done a wonderful job of helping to wrangle a lot of our favorite environmental leaders and teachers. She's done a terrific job. And tomorrow night, we're going to get to hear an amazing reading of her screenplay. So Robin, thank you. You've done a terrific job this weekend, and really grateful to be collaborating with you.
Thank you. It's been an absolute pleasure, and nothing better than getting these messages out about the Earth.
Yeah, it's very important. So thank you. And one of the people that I'm really grateful, he was on with us last year and he's back with us again. This is Dwayne Elgin, who is one of the really truly great pioneers in leading the way for us all. And Dwayne is an internationally recognized Earth citizen. He's written 5 books, and his most recent book is Choosing Earth. And it's available for free. We're going to show you how to do that in a little bit on his website, choosingearth.org. Dwayne is beloved throughout our Global Peace Tribe. He's a longtime media activist working for strong democracy. So welcome, Dwayne. It's really good to have you with us. Thank you so much.
Good to be back again.
Yeah.
Thank you, Scott.
Keeping it up. And I appreciate, Dwayne has been going from one show to the next, to the next, to the next. So thank you, Dwayne, for being with us.
Yes.
I'm also really grateful to have my fellow evolutionary leader and one of the real leaders of the Evolutionary Leaders Network. This is Kurt Johnson. And Kurt's been on Saturday Night Live and Awakening World before. But any of you who don't know him, he's a prominent figure on many international committees, including the United Nations. He's also an author or co-author of several award-winning books, including Our Moment of Choice, which is such an important book. We're doing an entire weekend dedicated to that in early May. So, Kurt, thank you so much. He has a PhD, by the way, in evolution and ecology. And are you ready for this? He's authored over 200 scientific articles and books. So thank you so much for also being with us and for your dedication, Kurt.
Thanks, Scott.
Our final official guest tonight are two people I love and adore. In fact, I kind of get to say that I officiated their wedding. And Destiny made
9 years ago.
9 years ago, my gosh.
Awesome.
And they have 2 children since then. And also we're going to hear them play music. We're also going to hear them talk a little bit about their lifestyle, living in a very sustainable way in Hawaii. So we're looking forward to hearing about that. And I got to say, Destiny made her very first time ever playing in front of an audience right here in my home. And I can remember that night. It was our housewarming night. So you've come a long way recording albums and CDs and making music, making babies, making a beautiful life. So it's great to have you guys with us. Welcome
Thank you,
aboard.
Scott.
Yeah. I'm going to go initially to kind of a round table. So I'm going to add everybody. And I think let's just kind of start with each person's opening thoughts of as you look at Earth Day. Here we are, and we've all been through many Earth Days. What does this particular Earth Day mean to each of you? And let's go ahead and start with Kurt, and then we'll hear from Dwayne.
Yeah, thank you. There's absolutely no doubt that we're at a historic crossroads in our history on this planet. And in that sense, there's always challenges, which can be the potential bad news. But we also know there's so much good news. And the real good news is the message from the heart and the millennial message of the wisdom traditions. And the fact that now that modern evolutionary biology understands that the course of evolution itself always chooses for the good of the whole. It's we human beings that get in the way, but we know now from what's called group and multi-level natural selection that nature always works toward the good. So we're actually destined, to use Destiny's name, to be altruistic beings. So let's not stand in the way, and let's, as Scott and everyone else is doing, let's get the show on the road.
Beautiful, thank you. Something interesting, I asked where people are from. We've got people from Unify on our Unify channel from Tasmania, Cancun, Albania, Las Vegas. And then in our Zoom room, we've got everybody from Topanga and Chatsworth, Spain, San Diego, Ecuador, Vancouver, British Columbia, Ashland, Oregon, all over California, Seattle, the Oregon coast, Colorado. So I just really appreciate that we have people listening to us from all over the world and all over the United States. Truly, we are the Global Peace Tribe. Dwayne, I'm going to pop the spotlight on you, and I'd love to hear kind of what this particular Earth Day is meaning to you.
Well, thank you, Scott. This Earth Day has significance for me, certainly. We're in big trouble as a species, much more than we know. And I've been looking at the research now for just 50 years, watching this slow-moving catastrophe take hold. And it's starting now, the turbulence in the atmosphere and other extremes, it's starting to take hold. So this Earth Day is one more wake-up call, but boy, I tell you, the Mother Nature is helping ring the bell of wake-up time for us. And so I look forward to speaking now with my brother Kurt about what we might begin.
We will bring Kurt back on and sort of talk about some of the solutions, but let's go ahead and talk for a minute about some of the scary stuff. I was trained as a climate project presenter by Al Gore 12 years ago. And one of the things that's startling is even the worst predictions about the melting of of Antarctica and the polar ice caps, it's even faster than the worst predictions 10 years
Right.
ago.
Right.
I just heard yesterday that the projection is that within 20 years there'll be almost no fish left in the ocean.
Yeah.
Claire Dubois talks a lot about the changing of the Gulf Stream and what that means.
Extraordinary.
Are there some things that you want to share? I mean, we're
Sure.
not going to spend the whole time scaring people, but
Yeah. Hey, well,
we need to embrace what's really happening here.
Well, really, it's not just to add scary things to the conversation. It's to bring awareness to what's actually going on. And in typical conversation, we bring up one, maybe climate change, and maybe some aspect of climate change and such. And that's about enough for people to hear. But the reality is the world is moving into this most unique configuration ecologically and geologically as it has been in the last 10,000 years. And so this is an entirely unique situation for the Earth. And so once again, that pushes back and it says, okay, now what are you going to do? And time is running out. And scientist after scientist has given us to the end of this decade, and we knew this long ago. But again and again, we are being told roughly in the time frame of this decade, if we don't begin making drastic reductions, we are going to head into irreversible change, and that we will not be able to go back in any significant way. So the challenge in my mind is how to awaken enough of us fast enough to turn the corner towards another configuration of living on this earth. And we can come back after a bit if you'd like, but the answer in my mind is singular. It's media. And the mass media is the mass mind of our mass society. And unless we begin changing the mass media significantly, and I'm happy to speak about that, we will not change the mass mind, and we will not change the mass future that we're on right now. And so if there is a pivot in this, and I'd love to speak more about this, but it is media. And it's both television media as well as internet-based media, and the potential of actually bringing those two together, not only nationally, but now globally. So let me pause there and give my brother Kurt a chance, because media is so critical to civic society and our ability to understand what's going on as a civic society.
Yeah, Dwayne, thank you. And Dwayne and I had a chance to correspond a bit before this. And what's interesting, as I mentioned, science has a word, catastrophe, and it defines catastrophe as anything that changes things so suddenly and unexpectedly that it completely upends what's normal. Best example that we know of is when the meteor hit near the Yucatan, wiped out the dinosaurs, and it took millions of years in that case for the Earth to actually come back to a new normal. So catastrophe is like that. It's like when you break the cue ball, you break the billiard balls on the table, and it's a new game. Now, right now, we actually have 4 potential catastrophes that we're facing, of which the climate one, which is so obvious, is just one. One would be enough. We actually have 4. And the other one, of course, we just lived through it for 3 years, is the danger of pandemic disease. and it completely upending how we live our daily lives and how we run our economies and cultures. But there are two others, and they're absolutely germane to what we just talked about, and they're very often not talked about. And one is called the information catastrophe. And you know as well as I do, one of the problems all around the world now is that people don't know what's true. People don't know what a fact is. Information is either so controlled or so out of control that people honestly can't even know what's true. Certainly a planet in that kind of a situation can't make good decisions for itself. And then the last one is another one we don't think of, but all you got to do is watch TV, and that's called the governance catastrophe. And that is that for some reason, maybe it's our chimp and bonobo gene, but we still are fascinated with autocrats, dictators, power mongers, and people who are abusers. And we see in the current situation that we really have very few means and remedies to control those types of bad behavior at a global level. So that's what we're actually up against. But you're absolutely right that this tipping of what the consciousness is, the sense of the worldview of people on the street, every time there's been a revolution at a global level, it was because there was a complete upending of the worldview from the street level up. And I totally agree with Duane and what Scott's saying all the time. Not only media, but the arts, reaching out to the heart, reaching to the heart of people that understands, love, empathy, reciprocity, mutuality. That's our real hope, is to use the media in those directions. So I could say more, but those I think are just the really kind of the banner headlines.
Speaking of the media, I'm going to bring Robin Streichler on because Robin has written a screenplay, an environmental screenplay, and we're going to do tomorrow night during our after show, we are going to have a reading of a portion of it. So Robin, kind of addressing exactly what Kurt just said, what would you like to add?
I'd like to add that I'm kind of astounded that the direction of the conversation is going this way. It's kind of like a theme that's just arising in our show this weekend. My undergraduate degree, I made it up I graduated in 1986, and it was approaching environmental problems through media. And I saw what you're saying way back then, and I chose to go two routes. I did work for CNN and CBS affiliate in Boston and some other places, and tried to kind of figure out why they weren't putting on more environmental programming, and attention to environmental problems. And I did write about that, and I said that news is selective. They may be objective, but they're selective, and they're selective for immediate crisis situations. And what happened was they never paid attention to the slow brewing dangers that we were, just contributing to unconsciously, or perhaps some were conscious, but we couldn't kind of change the wheels of powers that wanted to, the things we all know, the poisons that are put into our waters and air. There was sort of, the people with the money who didn't want to, who wanted to cut corners, had the money and the power to influence our government to be able to do that. So these were kind of insidious things that were happening. So anyway, just want to wrap up this part by saying, yes, I went into the news arena in terms of looking at all that and how can we get more environmental reporting. It's a different mindset. You can't do a crisis mindset. You have to do a long-term mindset and look in places where we're just not looking. And secondly, yes, I went the creative route, and I am determined to bring transformational and a positive vision for the future to mainstream entertainment. And that's exactly why I studied to be a screenwriter that could write a mainstream script that would be appealing to a broad audience that has a positive vision for the future, especially environmentally, and that's what we're not seeing. So thank you.
Oh, well, beautiful. And thank you. And we're going to hear from Robin throughout the weekend. She's going to be with us all weekend long. And again, tomorrow night, since we just talked about it, I'm going to go ahead and show it now. Tomorrow night is this special reading during the after show of her screenplay, Getting Back to Jane, which is an environmental theme. And it's going to be a really fun reading. So definitely, everybody, make sure you join us tomorrow night and kick back and be with us for a while, because the after show is going to be really powerful. So thank you. I want to go to my friends in Hawaii. This is Destiny and Andrew. And they're going to play music a little bit later, but I'd love to start just by asking you to share a little bit about, you've made a really powerful choice. You picked up your family, you moved from the mainland to Hawaii into an environmentally sustainable world. So tell us about that.
Oh, yeah, we were in Ashland, Oregon for 9 years. And there came a certain point where in my system, I started feeling like I actually wasn't functional anymore. I felt the buzz of the city and I felt my soul crying out to reconnect back into nature. And I prayed very hard for an invitation. And lo and behold, an invitation arose. And a friend was moving to Oahu from Big Island, and she invited us to come take over her place. It's raining right now. It's raining a lot. And we're off grid. We're on solar and hydroelectric, just living very, in a very pure, pristine, etheric environment, which has provided an opportunity to reconnect in with what's really important, which are the elementals and our innate connection to nature. So I feel really grateful to have taken this step and have been supported along the way by our ancestors and our spirit guides, and to help us move even more towards what our lives are, what our legacy is on this earth, in this earth.
You know, I so appreciate having you both with us, and I actually invited you onto this particular show because you do represent the future. I mean, you're of course younger than Dwayne, Kurt, or myself, but you also you've chosen the direction that I believe humanity will ultimately need to go to, how to live in nature, and yet you still have your music, you still have your internet, you're still connected, but you're living simply. And I think that the balance you are creating, that you're demonstrating, is where humanity is going. I'm going to bring Dwayne and Kurt back on. And how does that land for you guys? Does this look like the future of a healthy human existence to you guys?
Yes, indeed. Indeed it does. And the counterpoint to that is the future we're actually creating for the world right now. And I want to emphasize that in a little bit of time here, and go back to media in the following sense, that power in a democracy is the power to communicate. And it is not only who controls, let's say, the profits of communication, but who is in front of that camera and deciding what the camera looks at. Because that is the eye of consciousness of an entire civilization. And so who controls that controls how we look and see the world, and that in turn impacts our choices for the future, profoundly so. So I just want to say power in the media is the power to see, and it's the power to communicate, and that's what the mass media offers, and we're not using it. That's my key point. It's on the one hand, it is powerful, and we can just prove that again and again and again, but that doesn't mean we're going to use that power, even though, and this is critical, if you do the research on the communications law for this country and broadcast television, it says again and again and again, if there is ever a conflict between the public interest and the private interest of a broadcaster, it is always, always, always the public interest that will prevail. Stand up, take back the airwaves. Let's move the communications of our democracy into a new era. That's how I feel.
So, Dwayne, what are some steps? What are specific practical things? Because that's what we're focusing on all weekend. What are specific practical steps that we can do to take back the media or to influence the media in the
Yes.
proper direction?
It's very powerful. First of all, is to recognize, even though the internet is powerful, the broadcast television remains a huge force in our society. And in the United States, on a single day, we watch the equivalent of more than 1 billion person hours of television. 1 billion person hours of television in a single day. And to the extent that we can begin to move the attention vehicle of television to more constructive domains, actually much more interesting domains, we're just drifting then as a civilization, because that's where we get most of our news still. Most of the time is from broadcast television. So I would simply say become a media activist in whatever form, local to national to global, television or the internet. Take back the airwaves, take back the tools of communication, and let's begin a robust conversation about our common future.
Thank you so much. And we'll hear much more from Dwayne before he has to leave. I do want to start reading comments from our Zoom room people and also people watching on Facebook Unify. When I'm putting down here, that's where I kind of check what's happening on Facebook. And, you know, for anybody who is watching on YouTube or on Facebook, come on into our Zoom room. It's a lot easier for us to read your comments, and I'm going to start reading comments in a minute. And it's easy. Just go to globalpeacetribe.com, globalpeacetribe.com, click register, and you can get all of the links to all of our shows for the next 2.5 months free. Just use the promo code of new friend, and come on into the Zoom room, and then it'll be easier for me to read what you have to say. Dorina writes, Happy Earth Day, everyone, as we celebrate every day as Earth Day. That's right, that's a big theme for this weekend. And she's coming to us from Ecuador. Welcome, Dorina. Percy kind of responded to the question I had asked, and I'd love to hear other people's response to the question of what does this Earth Day 2022 mean to everybody? And Percy writes, my feeling towards this Earth Day is actually the same as my feelings towards all other Earth Days. That those of us who remember the first Earth Day may recall that it came about because we were worried about the state of our beloved planet. Still are, only it's so much further along. We still have to wake up to this reality and save ourselves while we have a chance. Thank you. That's right, Percy. That's absolutely right. And a couple of other comments from Connie and Andrew, who we love. Well, maybe we'll even hear from them directly. They write that they're sending love from Loveland, Colorado, and welcome, Connie and Andrew. Suzanne writes, and this is important, our topsoil is depleting. In the last 40 years, 40% of the world's topsoil has been lost. Without topsoil, no food. And then she provided a link of Sadhguru riding his motorcycle through Europe, bringing attention to the soil. So thank you for that. And Suzanne writes in response to what Dwayne was just talking about, I've not had a television for 30 years. So thank you. Finally, Christina Islands writes, this is so beautiful, Destiny. Thank you for taking the leap, inspiring us, leading from such a connected example. Bring up Destiny for as I say that. So thank you. Thank you. Andrew, is there anything you'd like to say?
Oh my gosh. Well, so much. Part of it of coming here, we're on a farm And we just had a recent conversation with the other farm mates who also left the mainland, had a huge company doing grant writing, and that they, like we, noticed that to do a leap like this, there's a lot that has to be let go of to make space for being with mold issues or inconveniences, or being internet going out at times, and letting go of a lot of personal things that don't ultimately might make us comfortable but don't lead to happiness, and really inviting that consciousness of to give more is abundance, to have less that we comfort ourselves with that may not be necessary. And that's one part for me of being here. And then letting go of closer, tighter knit communities. For me, to be more out in the country meant I had to kind of dig more inside myself and find a little more base of, because I'm an extrovert to the max, and needed to kind of come in and develop more of a personal relationship with spirit and wholeness that was less contingent on external factors. Aho.
Beautiful. Thank you. Destiny, it looks like you wanted to say something.
Yeah, that piece is big. Stripping away so much so then we can find what's real. And that was the intention of, like, we are congested with false programming, with this false belief that we have to have all of this stuff to be comfortable or successful, or this image. What happens if we strip it away now while we're young and start taking the steps towards the vision that Spirit has given us for our lives, which is to be holding large ritual communal space to bring people back into what's really valuable, which is our connection to our essence, which ultimately is our connection to our earth and to our inner nature.
Beautiful.
Plug one book while we're here. This book's been really helpful for us by Malidoma Somé. That a lot of this, I think you mentioned ancestors right when we began, and realizing the huge cutoff, even as we progress as a culture, that we were raised in a culture cut off from ritual, nature, and community, that those three, especially if we were in cities, were not woven together. And that
that's the real healing, is that we have to come. Media is important to come together in media and put out the right messages and the spirit message. But the most important thing to me is to bring people together. So to get clear and refined and clear away all that isn't real, and then come back together in that essence. And we are super powerful. We have such an ancient technology inside of us of being able to connect on the etheric realm, on the spirit realm, when we're together in shared space. So this is one super cool way we can do that, through the computer, that we're connecting our world. And here we are somehow together yet apart. But also that power. And I think COVID really sparked that for us, of like, oh, we've been stripped away from gathering. That is our superpower. We have to gather to be able to remember.
Yeah, and now we gather. Of course, it's wonderful when we can gather in person, but now we gather internationally. We've got people from the Philippines and all over Canada and North America and Ecuador. I think we've got 5 continents represented here. And so it's pretty incredible. I've gone to all of us on screen, all of our panelists. Kurt, Dwayne, how does what Destiny and Andrew have to say, how's that impact you? What do you guys have to say about that?
Well, I was going to hearken back to both what Duane and Destiny and Andrew said, because if we look at cosmology, you look at the great cosmologist Teilhard de Chardin, the Jesuit, and he said we really live in 3 simultaneous realms: geosphere, biosphere, and noosphere. And we used to think that the geosphere, the physical world, and the biosphere, the world of living things, were separate. Now we know, of course, from plate tectonics, that it's really the plate tectonics that creates the liquids and the gases that then afford the emergence of life. But the noosphere is the idea in the human mind, the stories that we're telling ourselves. And as all of you have pointed out, the real bad apple in the apple cart is the stories that we've been telling ourselves that allow us to abuse Mother Earth and abuse Mother Gaia. So that is why this message about media is so important, because understanding that the bad apple is really the way we are operating in our behavior and consciousness. We can work from the top down to change that story and change that direction. And that will then pull everything back into alignment. Because like I said at the beginning, evolution, when it's left unimpeded by our crazy ideas, will always move in an altruistic direction. So that's the mandate for this message. That's what you're doing every week. And certainly everybody in their art and music, wonderful stuff.
Oh, thank you. I'm going to read a few more comments and then go back to Dwayne. By the way, Dwayne, you have a fan who's watching, Jan Kaplan, who's actually one of our senior producers. She's watching on Facebook, but she was very excited that you're going to be on the show. And she's been a fan of your books going way, way back. And Jan actually writes, teaching children about the sacred relationship with the earth is primary and can be done at home and in school through books and media. How can we disrespect the earth who gives us so much, is the question Jan asks. And a couple more comments, and then I'm going to go to you, Dwayne. Connie and Andrew write, yes, Destiny and Andrew, shifting our vibratory level into abundance thinking, where we give what we have and receive more than we can fathom. It's another frequency where the laws are expanded, truly a new reality. You are embodying unity in diversity. And then Eva writes, for me, this Earth Day is a reminder that we must continue to advocate for change and that I must personally do what I can to care for the planet and for all. Thank you, Eva. That's what it's all about, for sure. Dwayne, I'm going to put the spotlight on you and ask you to tell us a little bit. You've got some really beautiful offerings that you're providing. And thank you for the generosity. You're offering the book that you wrote free of charge. Tell us about the book. I'm going to go to the website and show people how they can order it.
The book is called Choosing Earth, and it's the fifth book I've written, and it builds on a half century of prior research looking into the deep future, and that's one of the key differences of this book. It not only looks a few years ahead, it looks 50 years into the future. And there are hundreds of references in this book. And it is deeply researched. It's not a casual exploration of the deep future. It's an in-depth inquiry, the likes of which I have not encountered. So it takes us on a very demanding and difficult ride. It's hard to read in some respects. It's exhilarating, just like a roller coaster ride can be, to read in other respects when you see that we're going through a time of great initiation as a species, a time of transition from our adolescence to our early adulthood. And that, as we know from our own personal experience, can be very tumultuous to go through our adolescence. In the same way, we shouldn't expect it to be any different for a whole planetary species to move into our early adulthood. So we're on a journey that in many ways we all already recognize, but it's going to be fresh and new and challenging. It's never happened anything like this in human history.
Yeah, we're in for quite a ride, and I think your book probably shares that with us. So to get the book, everybody, go to choosingearth.org. That's the name of the book. It's the name of the website, choosingearth.org. And in case people don't see this, Jean Houston, one of the great minds of our time, she's been on our show a few times. She's brilliant. Listen to what she says. She says, Choosing Earth is the most important book of our time. And that's coming from Jean Houston, probably one of the best well-read, well-informed, well-educated women that I know. So that's a remarkable thing. Anyway, go to choosingearth.org and then go to, you'll see where the book is right here. You can just download it as a PDF, and that way you get the book right away. If you prefer and you want a print book, you can go to Amazon and you can get an ebook for tablets, or you can get the print book by going to Amazon. So, and let's all definitely subscribe to the newsletter. That's really, really important.
Great.
And so I really want to encourage everybody, like right now, while I'm talking, just like I'm doing, subscribe to his email so that we can stay in touch. Oh, it always asks me for these things. Let's see, and then I get them wrong when I'm doing it on the show. Someday somebody's gonna have to explain to me, like when it says choose all traffic lights, there's actually only lights here, but there's a traffic light machine. And then it makes me do the stairs. Oh my gosh, it's always so embarrassing. Okay, hopefully I got it right. There we go. We appreciate CAPTCHA. Hey, not only does he have a book, but he also has a video. And so we're going to go to that in a moment. And tell us a little bit about the video. And I'm going to go to that right now.
Well, this is a film or documentary, I'm not sure what to call it, an hour and 10 minutes or so, that my wife created at the same time I was writing the book Choosing Earth. And so this is her original creation, and you could even watch a minute or two of the trailer there and get a taste for it. But it's a documentary that pulls together all of these threads, describing what we're facing as a species right now. And not simply climate change, but also species extinction, resource depletion, especially water, an overextended population that we cannot support with the resources that we're currently configured to use, and so on. So we're facing an extraordinary crisis as a species, and this film gently but powerfully just lays it out so we can see it, receive it, and hopefully learn from that.
Well, thank you so much for that. And by the way, you can find the film by going to choosingearth.org/video. choosingearth.org/video. And that's how you can do that. Duane, I don't know. I know that you have a lot going on, so if you need to take off, you are welcome to do so. But I'm going to bring on your comrade Kurt to maybe wax poetic for a moment about, Kurt, how has Duane impacted you, and what's your awareness of how Duane has impacted our world?
Well, among so many people, Dwayne is one of the most beloved, and certainly within the evolutionary leaders. Like they always say, Dwayne's always there for us, and they go through the list of the others that are always there for us. But without people who have championed this holistic vision and then how it relates to these most critical crises, we'd be in far worse shape than we are. So it's people like Dwayne and others, and people who blow that trumpet and beat those drums that are so important. And I think I'm probably going to show a little later, we're doing a special on Voice America with the evolutionary leaders that begins with Duane and Duane's book, and then follows on a whole nother group of major Earth-related thought leaders. So we'll go into that down the line. But absolutely, one of the great blessings now is that science, particularly now with how we know, with the new view of evolution as cooperative and not competitive, at least now finally mainstream science is also on the same page with that message that has been there from wisdom for millennia. So we can't say enough about Duane.
Yeah, beautiful. Duane, thank you so much for blessing us with your time and energy tonight. God bless you, and thank you for 50 years of service to Mother Earth. Let's all twinkle Duane while we have him on camera for just another minute. 50 years of service. And Duane, I hope that 50 years from now we're doing another show with you. And it's like somehow humankind pulled it together. All right. I'm going to go to Destiny and Andrew for some music. Because we always like to combine music with what we're learning. And so, Destiny, Andrew, what do you got for us tonight?
We're going to play this song that I actually wrote this quite a few years ago. It was on my first album. And this song is about removing all of the obstacles in our way as we are on the journey towards our life path. And I feel like for all of us as humanity, that journey, our life purpose as human species is to remember our oneness, to remember that Earth is not only our mother, but our greater body. I don't need to know that defense is grown so old, so I put it in the soil and grow a river for tomorrow. Tomorrow's never been so I vow to begin again and again and again, like a baby full of wonder, under layers, becoming younger and wiser. Ba, 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 ba. Ba, 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 da. Ba, 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 you know, when I need to know, Great Spirit will inform my body, 'cause my body is the bridge to my soul. Language, I'm calling on the force that removes all the obstacles to living in my truth. Yeah, Great Spirit, blueprint how I'm gonna party. Oh, I'm gonna party. I don't need no that defense has grown so old and so cold, so I put it in the soil, dig my hands in the soil, grow a river for tomorrow, for my children now. I'm gonna party. Oh, I'm gonna party.
All right.
Oh, that was just awesome. I love you guys so much. And it's so
Thanks, God.
wonderful to have you sharing your sweetness and your purity and just as beautiful. And thank you for bringing Ganesha. You know, boy, if the world ever needed Ganesha, the remover of obstacles, now is the time, yeah? I love Ganesha. I love him. Destin and Andrew are going to play another song a little bit later on tonight, and they're going to be with us again tomorrow night. But for any of you who want to get more of them, I'm going to take you to two places. Destiny has a link tree. And for those of you who watch our show, you see a lot of our artists use Linktree. It's a great way to connect. So the most important thing is to follow Destiny. Go to any of these, however you get your music, Bandcamp, Spotify, iTunes, Facebook. Go to all these places and click, 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 and follow Destiny so that we can raise, so the gods of the algorithms will shine upon Destiny.
Yes, thank you. Thank you. Indeed.
Absolutely. And again, that's if you just go to Linktree and find Destiny Love Music.
You can also find that at destinylovemusic.com if that's easier to remember.
Oh, well, that's good to know. I'll go there next. I will go to destinylovemusic.com. But wait, there's more. There's Andrew. And Andrew, her beloved husband, also has a website. And we're going to go there for a moment. And it's andrewlovejones.com. Andrew Love. And tell us about Papa's in Progress, Andrew. I don't know about this.
Well, I realized as a new father that we need so much support, and that especially when I watched during the birthing process, that there's this monumental change happening in the woman, which is a natural process. And then we're going through this whole process, and a lot of us is trying to gather strength to support this process. And so if one doesn't have a counselor, or one doesn't have a men's group, which is really helpful, that I like to step in and help papas realize what is the art of surrender while increasing leadership. And a lot of that is emotional work and ancestral clearing, because there is so much baggage that's going to get reawakened for, a great majority in every new step of the birth and the young child and child getting older, and that we need all the support we can get. And the clearing of lineage and being able to emote and feel where we were when we were tiny, or what was dysfunctional in our family line, so that the new family has more of a chance for wholeness, communication, integration.
I'm noticing that Eleanor Joy, one of our regulars, is writing, how about a birth doula for men? And Wanda writes, Andrew, what an awesome concept for papas. Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome.
She also writes, Destiny, you bring another dimension to destiny. Thank you so very much.
And we were quite lucky because our midwife was incredibly skilled. She was a shaman. She would just bring us into these deep, tearful, emotional, ancestral clearings. And it really saved us and put us in the right possibility to succeed as a family.
Beautiful. Well, thank you for being with us, and very inspiring having you with us. And we'll have you do one more song in a little bit. Is that okay?
It's great.
Fantastic. Well, I'm going to go back to Kurt, and I'm going to add Kurt, and I'm going to add Robin, and love to hear what some of the thoughts are that come up for you at this point in our program tonight. Kurt?
Well, one that comes up for me, and Destiny and Andrew just talked about, if we really talk about the thresholds of paradigm shifts that are going on now toward the potential of what humanity could be, one of them is this recapturing of our ability to understand the subtle realms. And we see all over the world now, from what we're learning from indigenous peoples and also from the great traditions, when we go into them deeply mystically, that every possible experience of the highest levels is available to every person because of our true nature. And if we're just able to actually be in that resonant relationship with nature, with each other, then we're advancing just the whole destiny, pardon the pun again, of the type of human being that we could be. So I'm just so glad that came up.
Yeah. Beautiful.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Robin.
Yeah, I mean, I just have a question, to put out there to everyone here. How are we going to turn this ship around? So, we, in the transformational arena think of miracles sometimes. We also think of consciousness tipping points. But as we see it now, and I'm sure Kurt has some comments on this, the ship's headed in a certain direction, which seems to be towards fascists and people like the Brazilian leader just going like, let's just destroy the whole Amazon. We have a tremendous momentum in that direction. So I'm just putting it out to everyone because it's a very serious consideration. What are we looking toward to turn this ship around?
Well, one thing that's always happening is that when things happen that are bad, it actually so often is putting the spotlight on where the attention needs to be. And I think one of the silver linings on the cloud may be now that if we, as a world people, see behaviors that are just so abhorrent that they're just at the deepest level of our being, we just reject those forms of behavior. But there's all of these revolutions going on. And the other one that we haven't mentioned, but it's lingering everywhere here, is the understanding of the divine feminine and the divine feminine across the masculine and the feminine, and what it means to take care, to love, to be concerned about detail and nurturing and beauty. And as that arises in the human species, it not only brings that creativity to build new orders and new social structures, but to actually say no to atrocities and to bad behaviors that just at the absolute gut. I remember when Zelensky said the other night, I just honestly don't understand this behavior, even as a human being. So we have to hope we're maybe at one of the last gasps of that kind of bad behavior, but there's just so many factors going on. And the transformative community, which of course is the name for all of us, every one of you on this program and listening, you're all doing something really important to trim tab that ship, to turn it in that other direction. And that's just what we have to keep on doing 24/7. There's no doubt about it.
Yeah, thank you for saying that. And very similar to what Wanda writes. Wanda writes, Robin, the winds can change the direction of the ship, and we are the winds. Eleanor Joy writes, in Canada recently, there's a couple of baby steps being taken to collaborate more with the Indigenous people. God knows we need that. They have ancient wisdom with Mother Nature, etc., to guide us. And Connie and Andrew write, we are cleansing out old behaviors that were a response to a lower frequency of fear, separation, and scarcity. We are transmuting these energies for all of creation. And we're doing a great job. The earth is a higher frequency now, calling us forth into new behaviors and systems. So thank you for that. And Omashar, one of our beloveds, who we love Omashar and all the music he provides and his wisdom, writes, the return of the divine feminine is the number one prerequisite to turn this ship around. And yeah, I think that's, and it's all part of it. The return of the divine feminine, all of us raising our vibration. And we see that in so many different ways on this show on The Awakening World. Whether it's our spiritual teachers like the Twin Ray, or the other spiritual teachers, Marianne Williamson, who we had last week, who's going to be on again next week. And in a moment, I'm going to turn it over, by the way, to Lori Grace. Lori is actually sponsoring this weekend of The Awakening World, and we're really grateful for that. And I'm going to put the spotlight on you, Lori. There you are. Welcome.
Thank you.
I'm really happy to have you with us. I'm noticing the internet connection seems to be a tad slow on your end. So hopefully we'll be able to hear you and see you. Lori's coming to us from the Bay Area, as you can tell. She's got the Golden Gate Bridge behind her. But Lori, I've known you for 35 years, and you've always been an environmental activist. You've done so many things to help our world. You fought the fight, you won against PG&E many years ago in a political fight. You've done a lot. And what would you like to share tonight about your concerns and some of the solutions that you're working to bring to our world.
Well, one of the concerns that I have is that we won't really be having fish in the ocean by 2040, except for some small fish here and there. And that'll be another contribution to mass hunger. So I always like to make sure I think of possible solutions or directions to move in that are really concrete in order to address this. And I will be showing a movie which you can all watch on Netflix, but you might find it pretty depressing, called Seaspiracy. And that is why our oceans are getting rapidly depleted and how that can affect our oxygen supply in the planet, and also the terrible loss of fish that is going to happen because of the voracious desire for eating tuna. Tuna is the worst. So the movie describes it. You can go watch it on Netflix. But what I'm doing in the presentation that I'll be giving at Sunrise Center is showing concrete ways with this organization, that organization, what you can do with your diet, where you can, what you can promote that will enhance the chances that we will have a moderately, an ocean that's got some fish, and at Haleakua at my place in Maui, what I learned a long time ago when I saw the first movie, The End of the Line, about the depletion of the ocean by fishing and fishermen, was that there's a terrible kind of distress that happens when a fishery collapses and people lose enormous numbers of jobs. And then that happened in the cod fishery in Maine and Massachusetts. And what happened that helped some is they started moving some of the fishermen who loved fish to fish farming, where now they are raising barramundi. And then in Hawaii, where there's also depletion and where there are endangered species and species like certain kinds of whales, monk seals, dolphins that are starting to go very, very hungry for lack of food. We're going to, in my small farm, be raising tilapia organically, which is very different from the tilapia you buy even at Whole Foods, which is fed the feces of chickens. And we're going to raise them organically and really try to educate people that the future of preserving fish on the planet lies with the human species. And it has to do with quality fish farming, and also that we want to create fish that is healthy to eat, that is not loaded with toxins. So that's some of what we'll do. And we're a small farm, so all we can do is teach through the university system and spread it. So, but I'm going to discuss a lot of different things in this evening, and we'll be open to plenty of questions and answers. So when you see a movie that is totally depressing, you won't just compartmentalize it, take a drink of wine and move on your life, but you'll say, wow, there's certain things I can really do. And I probably do it in the late afternoon because doing it in the evening, people would be too depressed to probably see the rest of it. So it's a longish movie, but it is the start of a disaster. And one of the things that I learned was that the phytoplankton that create 3/4 of the oxygen that we breathe on this planet are nourished by fish feces and the movement of fins in water. So if we decimate the population of fish on the planet, we will be decimating the amount of oxygen we can breathe. So if you just say, oh, I don't eat fish, I'm a vegetarian or I'm a vegan, you're not looking at the full picture, because you do need oxygen. So anyway,
Yeah, thank you, Lori. And these are hard things for us to have to deal with, but I really appreciate you've always been someone who points in the direction of things that we need to be aware of that may not be comfortable. Wanda writes a question for you, Lori. She says, Lori, have you reached out to Boy Scouts, Girl Scouts, Campfire Girls, and the like? They need to work, they need to earn environmental badges. What a great resource you are. So that's an interesting idea.
it could be. Mhm.
Yeah. Um,
Yeah.
uh,
And there also, I will also want to let you know, the water in the ocean is getting progressively warmer and warmer, and coral will be dying, and it's also more and more acid. In fact, it's going to be like soda water, okay, and start dissolving and working on the shells of mussels, clams, and lobsters. And I wanted to let you know that there's research being done at the California Academy of Sciences to create a coral that can survive in warmer water, and they're being successful.
wow. I'm going to bring Kurt on to
So you can- Mhm.
a couple comments, and then I've got Kurt on with you, Lori. Michael in our Zoom room writes, a lot of people are overwhelmed with climate change and its impact on our survival.
Mhm.
Educating oneself and your friends about solutions to climate change is a starting point. So, question for both of you. What is helpful is focusing on local solutions that are simple. What are some local solutions that either of you want to offer?
Well, I want to mention a couple of surprises. First of all, all of you who know me well know that as a mainstream biologist, I was just blown out of the water when the evolutionary paradigm changed from the competitive view of evolution to the cooperative view of evolution. I never thought that reductionist mainstream science would become an ally of the transformative message. But as Grace just said, there are amazing things going on that they're discovering in what's called post-climax biology. I'll just run that by in a little bit. Nature is regenerative, and it moves toward complete regeneration to what's called the climax level. But when we go out and we disrupt it, it gets to a point that's called disclimax, where it can't regenerate again. So for instance, if you would have gone to Kansas in the 1700s, you could have stood on the saddle of your horse and still not seen over the tops of the grasses. Now we're lucky if we can see grasses even 6 inches high there. And we've created a disclimax in our entire central United States. And that's why people like Bolsonaro in Brazil say, why should you tell us not to disturb the Amazon when you already destroyed the entire plains prairie system of North America? And there's some truth to that. But what's happening now, and this is happening in this coral reef research, amazing things they're finding out now by rebuilding substrate, changing the chemistry a little bit. Not only can you get the reefs to regenerate, but they regenerate at a faster pace. So if you actually go online and you just Google coral reef regeneration, it's just amazing. So we may surprise ourselves just in the sense of the ingenuity of human beings, in the sense of post-climax solutions we can come up with.
Well, that's
So to follow what he said, so if you want to do a real action step instead of just an idea, you join as a member of the California Academy of Sciences. You take a trip to listen to their programs on coral. You encourage other people to do that. You can make minor donations or more major. And then one of the most interesting things that is totally simple, stop eating tuna. Tuna is the worst fish possible for hurting the ocean, because the bycatch of dolphins and sea turtles for every piece of tuna you eat is very big, and that there are dead dolphins thrown overboard and dead sea turtles from tuna. So stop eating tuna. On the movie, they say stop eating fish, but some farmed stuff is probably okay. But the tuna is also loaded with mercury, so you could really help yourself. So that's a simple action you can do.
Thank you.
Stop eating tuna.
All right, so let's all stop eating tuna and also join the California Academy of Sciences. I've brought Robin and Destiny and Andrew back on for a minute, and I'm going to read something that Connie wrote. Connie and Andrew wrote, "When we trust and listen to our hearts and watch the signs of the universe and take bold, committed action, we contribute to the collective consciousness." And then she's providing the very beautiful book that they wrote, The Trust Frequency. So I'll open that up and just show people that for a minute. And this is a wonderful, wonderful book that Connie and Andrew, they're two of our favorite people who are regulars, have provided. They come on, and you can go to, where is it here? Here we go. Welcome to the Trust Frequency. And you can just go there by going to thetrustfrequency.net. Thetrustfrequency.net. Register, and good things will come your way from Connie and Andrew. Thank you so much, Connie and Andrew. Robin, anything you'd like to add to the conversation before we conclude with some music?
Yes, thank you very much. First of all, thank you all for being here. It's been amazing and so important. I just wanted to say that I have been, for the last 3 years, working on an advocacy project of something that's very simple for the world to do. And we would save hundreds of millions of tons of CO2 annually if we just did this thing. And you want to know what this thing is?
What is it?
This thing is turning off your vehicle when you're parked. If you keep your eyes open, you're going to notice a lot of people are running their gas vehicles when they're parked. Now, we don't want gas vehicles, but it's also a great issue to get people aware of emissions dangers, because if you were aware of that, you wouldn't be running your gas vehicle when you're parked with your dog and your kids, because it actually, a University of Surrey research shows that the emissions get the emissions get into your car as well. So anyway, there's lots of reasons to turn off your vehicle when you're parked, but I think it's I think that I posted an article in the chat. That's my article with the Trends magazine with we.net, wetheworld.net. And I think the power of such an issue, and you can find lots of issues that we don't pay any attention to that could do a lot of good. The power of such an issue is that it creates awareness. And from my view, that's going to help turn the ship around, is being mindful of what we're doing and how it impacts us, even the things we don't notice that seem every day and just not on our minds. If we all kind of pick something that is our thing. I picked it because I noticed it and it was like, oh my God, I can't believe people don't know to turn their cars off. If you just pick one thing and you get other people to be mindful of it, I think that's a beautiful way to nudge people towards a more conscious world. So that's what I have to say. Thank you.
Oh, beautiful. Thank you so much. And thanks again for everything you've done. And we'll see you again tomorrow night and again on Sunday. And I'm going to go to something really cool that our friend Kurt has been working on. Kurt, tell us about what you're doing with Voice America and Choosing Earth.
Well, I think as everybody knows that the evolutionary leaders had this award-winning book, Our Moment of Choice, last year. And it's coming out in paperback from Simon & Schuster in May, actually May 3rd. So we actually have created an entire year of programming at Voice America based on that theme, and we're calling it Humanity's Moment of Choice. And we're going to actually be looking at this pivotal moment in history through all of these lenses of all of these thematic issues. So the first one, timed around Earth Day and starring Dwayne Elgin and others, the first one in this series is called Choosing Earth, based on the title of Dwayne Elgin's book. And it starts with Duane, and he actually sets the table. And then we go to David Corton, who I think you know is a New York Times best-selling author of The Great Turning, When Corporations Rule the World, and Change the Story, Change the Future. So he follows Duane, and then we go to Richard Klugston. And Richard Klugston is the chair of University Leaders for a Sustainable Future, and also a member of the original Earth Charter Commission. So he really fills us in on the Earth Charter. And I think some of you may know that one of the sad things in our history was the inability of the United Nations to embrace the Earth Charter, because the Earth Charter is really so comprehensive, it really threatens the current dominance hierarchies worldwide. But it's really the most powerful document around. And then we go from that to Jude Curvan talking about the cosmology of our moment of choice. Laura George talking about her new book, The New Human, that follows on Barbara Marx Hubbard's work. And then Scott and Mitchell J. Rabin join us to talk about these programs. So I'm laughing a bit because I've already recorded in past tense what I'm watching happen now. And I had to tell Scott, when you appear on the show, talk in past tense. So as of April 28th, 24/7, Choosing Earth from this new series, Humanity's Moment of Choice, will be up at Voice America. You can find it easily by Googling the Convergence at Voice America, or just going to the Convergence Voice America Facebook page, and the scheduling will be there. And I just also wanted to mention that joining us also on that program to sign off with a blessing were two really wonderful yoginis, Beth Shaw and Karuna. So it's a great program, and it's really inspiring, challenging, and informative. And it's great that Scott gives a good summary of this entire program as part of the Voice America broadcast.
Oh, thank you. It was an honor to do that with you. A reminder to everybody, please keep yourselves muted. We appreciate that we've got 60 people with us, but you got to keep yourselves muted, everybody. And Kurt's going to be back with us in 2 or 3 weeks, May 6th through 8th, or May 6th through 8th. Our shows are all about our moment of choice with Kurt, Deborah Moldau, Jude Curvan. A lot of the people that have contributed to that book are going to be joining us. So, Kurt, God bless you. Thank you so much for all that you do. You're amazing. 200 articles. How do you do that? It's incredible. All right. Well, I want to read a few more final comments, and then we're going to close out with some music from Destiny and Andrew. Dorina writes, beside the trend toward regenerative and biodynamic farming, which fortunately is becoming more mainstream, Dwayne Elgin's call for voluntary simplicity, that was a book that he wrote, and Janine Benaiz's invitation to apply more biomimicry instead of our mechanistic solutions to the climate crisis will be key solutions for better sustainable and thriving future on our precious Earth, Gaia, Pachamama. Thank you very much, Dorina, for being with us. Lynn, in response to what you wrote or said, Robin, Lynn writes, yes, many people also sleep in their cars with their air conditioning on while waiting for the children at school, sports practices, etc. So there are these little things. Stop eating tuna. Turn your car off. Michael Lepelli writes, transportation contributes the most to increasing greenhouse gases. Support your local communities in advocating for safe, low-stress bike networks that connect all of our daily needs to allow us to get out of our cars. Absolutely. Con and Andrew, thank you again for all of your contributions. Wanda is asking you a question, Kurt. Does Voice America have a newsletter? And he writes, not a newsletter, but a huge website. So I'll pull up the Voice America website while Destiny and Andrew are playing music. We'll take a look at it just before we leave. All right. Well, thank you, everybody, for your comments. Lori Grace, Cynthia Nelson from Unify sent you a big thanks, a lot of appreciation for what you shared. And I'm noticing several other people were appreciating you. So thank you very much for all that you do. And again, she mentioned she's in the Bay Area, and Lori loves to do live events. Remember live events where we actually hug each other and we're like in a room together? And Lori is located in the San Francisco Bay Area. She is going to be a big part of the New Living Expo, which is next weekend. Our whole show, Awakening World, is dedicated to a lot of the presenters who are going to be at the New Living Expo. That's going to be next weekend. We'll see Lori again. We'll also see John.
May 6th through 8th. It's 2 weekends.
Yeah, but on the
Two
Awakening
weekends,
World.
May
Yeah,
6th through 8th.
yeah, no, I'm talking
Oh,
about
that one.
our
Yes.
show. Yes, on our show next weekend will be
The online. The
that's
online. Yeah.
the online version is next weekend. The live in-person version, where you can meet Lori Grace in person, is in 2 weeks, and you'll be hearing all about that next weekend. So, all right, I'm going to turn it over to Destiny and Andrew to complete this evening. You are such an inspiration to us. Thank you so much, both of you.
Thank you so much, Scott. We love you. So as we're tuning in, we're thinking like, which way and what ways can we make a big difference? And I feel like supporting clean water is important because as we provide clean water to our indigenous communities throughout the world, we're preserving the ancient technologies, which will bring us home to connection to nature and to each other and to the earth and to remembering why we're here. Hallelujah, sacred water. Hallelujah, sacred water. Hallelujah, sacred waters. Hallelujah, sacred waters. I am honored to care for you. Raise my vibration as I do. Yeah, you do. I am honored to care for you, Mother. Raise my vibration as I do. Hallelujah, 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 moving through ya. Hallelujah, 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 moving through ya. Hallelujah, 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 moving through ya. I am humble to care for you. Raise my vibration as I do, and I am humble by your majesty, your beauty and grace envelop me. Yeah, yeah. Hallelujah, 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 moving through you. Hallelujah, 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 moving through you. Hallelujah, hallelujah, sacred water. Hallelujah, sacred water. Hallelujah, sacred water. Hallelujah, sacred water. Hallelujah, sacred mother. Hallelujah, sacred mother. I am humbled by your majesty, your beauty and grace envelop me. Hallelujah, 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 moving through you.
Oh, you guys, that was awesome. Just awesome.
I
I've gone
think
to
I could.
gallery views so you can see people twinkling you away. and giving thanks. Thank you so much.
I can hear the hoots of
That's
approval.
beautiful, just
Thank
beautiful.
you. And if anyone wants to make a trip to Hawaii in August, we're planning a Singing Spirit Alive embodied voice healing retreat. We don't have the dates locked in yet, but we're looking at August. So just follow us on our pages and stay in touch.
Well, as soon as you have the dates, let us know. We'll bring you back on. You'll do a song, and we'll let everybody know about it. All right.
Great.
And
Thank you,
they're going to be
Scott.
and they're going to be with us again tomorrow night. So definitely join us tomorrow evening, where we have a lot of wonderful presenters lined up. By the way, I did find Voice America. They do have a huge website. So if you go to voiceamerica.com and then just put in Kurt Johnson, and boom, this pops up, the Convergence, Moment of Choice. But there's so many wonderful podcasts on Voice America. But let's start with Kurt and what he's created. So thank you again, Kurt, Destiny, Andrew, Robin, Lori Grace. Thank you, everybody. And thank you, everybody, for watching. And I love we had about 60 people in our Zoom room, and of course, hundreds watching on Facebook. Share this out. You know, this is really how we grow our audience. So please share this with people so people can learn from Kurt, enjoy, and be inspired by Destiny and Andrew. Let's all really get this word out, and let's all create a new earth together in a beautiful way. Yes, Percy, I agree. That was a sweet musical vibe from a sweet duo. Absolutely. Take care, everybody. I hope to see you tomorrow night. Have a beautiful